Hi, Rukhsar. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining in. We'd like to welcome you all to the session today, which is the 25th episode of RecRoute. This is an ongoing effort on Foundit where we connect with recruiters and talent acquisition leads and talk about what the hiring space is seeing and ideas that are relevant to the requirements of hiring managers. As all of you are aware, Monster APAC and ME is now founded. We rebranded about a year back. And since then, we have been seeing a lot of excitement in terms of how we position the brand, what are we doing in terms of our product, the solutions that we are trying to provide. And in the past, also, we have been hosting a lot of webinars. So far, we have been able to clock an average page view of 45 million plus. In terms of the many episodes of webinars that we have been doing, we have been interacting with industry experts from across the board, whether it is BFSI, it is fintech, it is directly from the staffing space, or it is with new age industries. So we've been able to successfully manage that and get a lot of insights on themes and subjects that are very very relevant to this audience as a whole. And moving on, today's topic is about harnessing the power of data and recruitment. And today we also will be talking about the state of recruitment trends that are currently been showing in 2022-23, in terms of what the recruitment survey has been showing, what are the kind of KPIs that we have been able to clock, and that 40% of the recruiter uh, consider hiring time as a top priority when it comes to hiring. Um, the research also in terms of finding out more about state of recruitment is something we wanted to focus on understanding the insights and perspectives of senior recruiters across the globe and across India regarding specific subjects like hiring practices and challenges. And also through our study, we've been able to establish how a mixed method approach works, how it leads to utilization of secondary research from the industry. What do the internal reports and primary research indicate in the survey? And the research population consisted mostly of senior recruiters from various industries and businesses of different kinds, such as you all. So that was broadly about the recruiter trends that we will be talking about. But moving on, I would like to welcome today's guest. Her name is Rukhsar Julekha. She's the regional leader talent acquisition in India and Oversight Countries at ABB. And welcome, Rukhsar. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are really glad to host you and get a lot of information from you in terms of what is the data driven hiring processes looking like.
Thank you, Zaina, and the entire founded team for having me.
Yeah, I'd also like to share a little bit more about Rukhsar. She is a seasoned people manager with more than a decade of experience in talent acquisition, and her leadership style has been rooted in inclusivity, empathy, and compassion. In fact, because of our DNI initiatives and her long-standing association with the organization, we have been able to invite her on board. She is also someone who is very vocal about building meaningful relationships and empowering others to realize their complete potential. She is also a DNI leader in the field. And with her commitment to inclusivity, Rukhsar has been working for a long time in shaping workplaces, including hers and a lot of associations that she has that celebrate diversity and encourages growth and development for everyone. So, with that as the background, we'll also quickly now move on. Before getting into the questions, I'll quickly move on um, to asking Rukhsar that how excited she is about today. Before I pop up the first question.
Thank you, Zaina. First of all, I'm very sorry, not just to the founded team, but also to the participants. I mean, I was delayed by more than 10 minutes, which is very unlikely. of me, but yeah, some technical difficulties. So very sorry about the delayed start, but I'll try to make up for it, and we'll try to conclude the session on time for you guys. And I've been waiting for today's discussion, Dohina, with the entire founding team.
Right, right.
It's passionate about the subject, how we can use data, and I'm very vocal currently in my role, how we can leverage data to make hiring a big success.
Got it.
Quite exciting.
Also, talking a little bit about before I get into the question, talking a little bit about her employers. Also, ABB is known to be a technology leader in electrification and automation, and Rukhsar has been with the organization for a while. So the whole bit that I told you all about diversity and inclusion is something that she has been working on tirelessly. And ABB solutions help connect engineers and engineering to the know-how and software to optimize and work on manufacturing, movement, powered operational products. It's also building towards a very strong path of excellence, and it is an organization that has been around for 130 years now, with over 1 lakh employees committed to driving innovations that are accelerated by industrial transformation as a whole. So that is another thing, I mean, we wanted Rukhsar to come in because of the strong association with an organization like ABP and her insight on hiring itself. So moving to the first question of the day, like we would like to understand more on this. And Rukhsar, don't take this just as a question. What we want to understand is how has data-driven recruitment evolved in the recent years, and what are some of the key trends that are shaping the future of hiring?
Okay, so I think just like everything else in recruitment, even the data has been data-driven, maybe implementations or evolving into a data-driven strategy. It has taken gradually. It has been very gradual for all the organizations, and not just for us. Let's say here in ABB, but also in my personal journey. If you see, uh, data-driven recruitment has been a subject in, let's say, last couple of years only. Before that, I think it was on the go basis. So everybody would come in, just talk about, okay, these are the positions that we have to work on, these are the kind of skills that we'll be working on, and it stopped at hiring and onboarding the correct candidate for the position. Nobody spoke about what has been the history, what has been the volumes, what has been the data around the subject. Nobody talked about it. But if you see, the evolvement has been very gradual. So over a period of time, then people started talking about, okay, what are our number of hires? Then slowly, gradually, the needle moved towards gender diversity. Then we started talking about successful KPIs for recruiters, I think, which you have covered in your recent research also. It has been a very gradual evolvement of recruitment getting into data driven or data oriented. Some of the key trends that I can talk about it about data-driven strategies or data-driven recruitment would be that a lot of it is getting ingrained in the entire process of recruitment. So when I say it's getting ingrained, you can see it reflecting in the KPIs through which the recruiters are getting measured now. You can see data being spoken about with the volumes that the business wants to hire, what kind of skills we have been hiring, what is the technology that is in demand right now. So when I say trends, every single organization, every single recruitment team these days is talking about historical and current statistics. All hiring decisions, all hiring for the talent acquisition depends on the entire data, which could be historical, which could be the current trend. And this is only going to evolve. This is only going to more purify. It will only going to get more specific with data. So all organizations are going, if they're not in the current trend, all organizations will continuously move their focus towards data-driven recruitment.
Yeah, I think that's very pointed towards what we've also trying to do at Founded, and this is an observation across the board when it comes to what has been the evolution of recruitment, how things have moved from looking at profiles and closing requirements to something which is more insight driven, and how to utilize data in terms of facilitating it such for the recruiters that they are able to see a dashboard of sorts. So there's while there's a lot of work ongoing, a lot has picked up within Foundit and globally as well. Um, so moving on to the other aspect that we want to know about, what are some of the primary challenges in your understanding that organizations face when they are trying to implement data-driven recruitment strategies? So are there just operational challenges, there's opposition to acceptance of technology, and how do organizations typically overcome these?
Okay. So I think implementing data-driven recruitment, and if I can call it in short form DDR, because we are going to talk about it for numerous number of times. So implementing data-driven recruitment would require more than just some data. You would actually definitely need a mindset change and start working on different ways how you can implement it. So just like any other change, right? Challenges can vary depending on which industry are you trying to implement this change, which organization are you where you're trying to implement this strategy. For example, a size of organization would have a huge impact on what kind of challenges you can face, right, while implementing this strategy. What is the hierarchy of decision making in that organization? How conventional the organization is in their decision making, right? So if I give you an instance, if it's a large organization, large size organization, if it's a conventional organization, it may take much more time or longer to implement such changes. If it's a newer age organization, an organization that is continuously evolving, right, they may find it easier to adapt to such changes. Uh, what, in my perspective, it's more of a mindset and a behavior change which can come as a bottleneck. And just like any other change or challenge, the effective way of implementation would be the right change management, which would be including the right way of communication, showing relevant success stories or case studies when we're implementing, let's say, a recruitment, which is data driven, showing to the business or your, let's say, business owners what positive impact can it have on their recruitment when they are implementing data driven strategies or data driven recruitment strategies. I think it would be a mix of a behavior change and then at the same time implementing with success stories, maybe going ahead with a pilot batch of, okay, observing only certain aspect. Let's say it could be demographic, could be compensation,
Right.
implement only one aspect of data and showing those success stories to the team. And always whenever we're doing some sort of change management, we need to answer the why from the teams, from the businesses. Why are we making these changes? Only then you can get people on board. And just like any other change management, when you get everybody on board, then they're less averse to change. And they become part of your change management and they become like an ambassador for your change. So that would be one way I would suggest that people can overcome the different challenges that they face when they're implementing not just data driven challenges, but any other changes or challenges in the organization.
Understood. I think that was a beautiful insight onto how to drive change and also bring in evangelists internally, like create several spokespeople. And also, what I really take away from this piece around this question is the fact that you mentioned how to create a use case and then slowly start to scale so that getting folks on board is also easier and probably tested.
Yeah.
So, in continuation with our queries around data, I also want to know from you, how can data help in identifying the right talent for a job opportunity? Like, we are in the business of that, and we are taking a lot of measures in terms of making data available. But from the recruitment board, from the board of talent heads, how does it appear to you all when utilizing data to identify the right set of people for a role?
Correct. I think this would be the most asked question when you're talking about data, right? Whenever you're trying to implement any strategy, how is it going to help? What would be the success story coming out of implementing any data-driven recruitment or any kind of strategy around data, right? Now, keep in mind that the extent and the variety of data that is available in today's time to make hiring decisions can be very overwhelming, right? You have data around candidate pool, you have demography, you have compensation, you have different kind of channels and tools that are available to give you all this data. And I'm sure with every organization, they have their own inbuilt data also, right? That they may maintain through a system or they may maintain manually. But if we understand and analyze the right matrix or use the data in the correct fashion, then only it can add tremendous value to the business. Otherwise, it is just a truckload of data available to you. How to make use of it would actually land you in a successful hire. So, for example, organizations today, they use internal external tools for their data. They have their own application tracking systems which has immense data. Then there are survey feedbacks which organization collects from their hiring managers, from their candidates, right? Which is collected after the hiring has been concluded. So right from compensation, right from past hire performances, demography, what is the availability of skill? Is there any inefficiency in the hiring process? The list can go on the type of data available, on the tools where you can collect this data. Now, if I talk about a practical example of how we can identify the right talent using the data that is available. In one of our divisions at ABB, we do a lot of project-based hiring. While our strategy is always to work with projected numbers, in one such instances, we had a ton of unprojected volume coming up for a particular skill. And the challenge here was that we were to hire the skill in a very limited period of time. Now, it's not a new skill for us, but do keep in mind that we hire this skill on regular basis with a limited number, right? In our base location, one of the base locations, which is Bangalore. Imagine
Right.
a scenario when we have to do bulk numbers with very quick turnaround time. Now, this came up as a challenge for the team of talent acquisition, not just for talent acquisition, but keep in mind for the division, because this is project-based hiring.
Yeah.
And the entire business depends on the resources, right? Now, given that we have already done some hiring around this skill, we had historical data on what is the location from where we were hiring these candidates, what is the compensation that we were offering to these candidates, right? We had realized that it will not be possible with the exact same approach to hire the data or hire these candidates with the skill, right? It showed from different channels data from our own historical stats that the demography for this skill was very widespread, which means the skill is not just like any other IT skill. It is not concentrated in Bangalore. So we were posed with two options. One option was to hire the skill in Bangalore with a higher cost of relocation, right? And a possible attrition of these relocated resources who may want to move back after a couple of years to their base locations, right?
Yeah.
And continue to hire for this skill every 2 to 3 years because of the possible attrition. The other strategy option that we had was to become location agnostic, which
Yeah.
means being flexible with our locations with certain conditions applied, like making the resources available for a couple of months in Bangalore for training and other purposes, and they can always work from their base locations. Now, how were we able to analyze this? Keep in mind that given that we have done this historically, we have hired for these skills in the past. This is the data that is available with us. Apart from our own data, we analyzed the data that is available in the different channels in market. So which cities are these skills concentrated to? What are the competition companies or competitors that are available, and in which let's say cities that they are available, right? We reviewed the data and we had to opt for the second approach of making positions location flexible, right? Which made our hiring most cost effective. It was sustainable because we don't have to do the hiring for such bulk numbers for attrition reasons. And we were also keeping we were also able to retain our talent. There was not a very higher attrition. This is just one such example of how we have been, or how organizations have been using their data to actually make the correct hiring decisions.
And it's very interesting from a point of view on how to retain the right talent also, because all of us, I mean, this is a debate that is going on forever in terms of the whole bit about being location agnostic and finding the right talent, the right skill set, and also being able to successfully retain them over at least the tenure of the project or beyond. So I think I'm glad to hear that it's been working for you. Will you also, while you've spoken about your own organization as a case, as my next question, will you be able to touch upon any other organization's case and perspective or an example where you have seen them successfully leveraging data for their recruitment processes in the real world scenario?
Yep. I think given that we are in talent acquisition, we have to build and develop a huge network. And most of the times when there are conversations with people in the talent acquisition network, we tend to exchange a lot of information with each other on the best practices. We tend to exchange information around how we are trying to overcome the challenges that are available. So I can definitely talk about multiple examples. And we also ensure that, there are or talk about that there are immense opportunities for talent acquisition or organization to kind of leverage their data on time to time basis, or let's say quarterly, or you can say annually. Historical and current statistics are majorly used by organizations like ABB, or let's say people in my network. I don't want to probably name the organizations, but they identify the bottlenecks in the recruitment processes. For example, one such instance could be, and you were rightly mentioning it in the beginning of in beginning of the conversation, that time to fill is of utmost importance. So most of the organization, including some of the organizations or talent partners that I speak to, that time to fill is one of the key challenges for all organizations. Now, data can be very critical in identifying where is the bottleneck in the entire recruitment process, right? So, for example, is it the recruiter which is taking more time? Is the hiring manager spending most of the time, right, in reviewing? Is it the feedback delay which is happening from hiring manager? Or is it the profile submission or the interviewing process which is taking time? All this information can be evaluated through data. Now, all systems are capable to give you a bifurcation of, okay, how many profiles were shared in each step of the process? How much time did it take for each step to conclude, right? So all these organizations are using data to review the talent acquisition processes time to time, identifying efficiencies and inefficiencies in the processes. They also try to evaluate data to identify the talent acquisition KPIs, and review if there are any metrics that are demonstrating success for them, if there are any metrics that are demonstrating failures for them. So not just, let's say, in the network or in talent acquisition, you can always find data around system generated reports, right? Now, any ATS that you may be using at Foundit or at ABB, or let's say larger organizations, not naming them, but services organizations where you have thousands of hiring, they all have dashboards available, as you were speaking about, right? Which talks about at what stages of recruitment, what is the number of days taken, what is the number of profiles submitted, then to shortlisting. So it's becoming very easy to identify all the inefficiencies. It's becoming very easy to leverage that insights that are available. And now all organizations, including that of ABB, use multiple dashboards. So it's live data. You don't even have to go back and look at historical data. It's live data. How are we doing against our processes? The baseline that we are supposed to maintain. How are we doing against our numbers or KPIs? So this dashboard, there are process of inefficiencies that people are able to identify. You're able to identify using historical data across all organizations about the volumes and the workload that we have observed. Do we have the right headcounts and talent acquisition to manage this hiring? If you observe your last couple of years data, do you have the right sizing of the organization in the talent community to address this number of hiring, right? So these are few areas that most of the organizations spend time on, and this is just couple of examples. There's more, and the list can continuously go on, right, on what we can do.
Right. I think again a very interesting, proposition that you've been able to share with us, which is in the space of recruitment, human intelligence is paramount. There's a lot of EQ also that comes into play, and it has always been a very process driven, stages driven practice, so to speak. But what has happened is over time with the inclusion of data, it has empowered the whole industry to look at all the requirements more objectively and also being more time efficient. Because I mean, increasingly getting the right candidate is a challenge we hear across the board. It's not how many, it's the right fit. And also I think what data has helped recruiters or talent heads do is not just look at a profile as just the right fit, but this whole dashboard helps one look at a candidate for maybe a multiple 70%, 80% match to different roles. So nothing is sort of cut out, but then you get an opportunity to look at the timeline of the candidate and also try to look at how he or she fits into the correct role. Which again is very important, because working closely with recruiters, we understand that having to go through the whole cycle itself is quite cumbersome. So, moving on to the next one, if you could outline a few essential data metrics and key performance indicators in HR and talent for HR and talent professionals that one should be focusing on. It could be from your experience talking to your peers across the recruitment space, or it could also be particular to ABB when
Okay.
it comes to driving success in recruitment efforts.
Okay. I think not just for talent acquisition, it's very critical to identify and measure the right matrix, right? Whether it is for HR, HRBP's talent acquisition. And in my opinion, and it also correlates to the report that you just shared, the most essential ones include number one would be time to hire. I mean, the data matrix can now be broken into at all stages that I was just speaking about a couple of years ago. Now, time taken to let's say provide the first set of CVs, right? Then time taken to interviewing a candidate to make an offer and eventually successful onboarding of a candidate. These are also known in TA space as qualitative KPIs, which means profile to offer ratio, which can also be analyzed through the data matrix, right? That is available. So in time to hire, you have further breakdown of different stages and different KPIs that you can focus on. The other one would be very important to the business and for the talent acquisition would be the source of hire. So what are the different channels that you're using to eventually hire the candidate, right? This one has an amazing benefit attached to it, or tremendous benefits attached for the business. Imagine you're using a very high percentage of recruitment agencies, which definitely means that your recruitment cost is higher. You can identify with this source mix or source of hire if your percentage of internal sourcing is very limited, you're very highly dependent on an agency, or you're very highly dependent on employee referrals, and you can analyze and change your approach according to the data that is available, right? Basis your success or areas of opportunities, you can probably take decisions for future. Would you like change the source of hire, or increase the hiring from another channel which you're not able to utilize right now? For example, what is the percentage of hiring done using direct applications, which is the most cost efficient hiring and time effective source of hiring, right? Then I would also say that candidate and hiring manager experience are big time popular now, and all organizations and inclusive of ABB have very high focus on what is the experience of candidate in the entire recruitment process. What is the experience of hiring manager in the entire journey of raising a requisition till successfully onboarding the candidate. Now, organizations like ABB or other organizations also use surveys to collect this information. How's the experience of both the parties involved, right? Data collected in these surveys can be very helpful in identifying the opportunities that are available for talent acquisition space. So, for example, if your candidate is highlighting a particular area the, let's say, onboarding that they're not happy with, or hiring manager is highlighting a particular area of, let's say, turnaround time for interviews, turnaround time for onboarding, or any other challenges. Those are your opportunities as data to improve as talent acquisition. So this would be another matrix. Cost of hire is very critical, which is directly related to your cost of hire. Then there's a high, it's popular and very relevant, the gender diversity, right? We have been talking about diversity and inclusion in the entire conversation now. What is the matrix around gender diversity? This is very crucial for organizations. Then just probably not the last one, or maybe not the least important, but very critical for recruiters. And this could make or break Monday mornings for a lot of recruiters in my team and other teams also, would be the job offer acceptance and drop off rates, right? Which can provide a great insights about why a candidate is joining or not joining your organization. So there are some number of, let's say, you can say, metrics that are available, a lot of data that is available. But in my opinion, these five to six key aspects, right, key elements that a TA organization should follow.
Got it. Interesting that you brought in the bits about, making or breaking the Monday mornings from the acceptance rate. That brings me to my next question, which I think you have loosely also touched upon while we've been speaking about various topics. Is that how do you think, data can help in reducing the drop-offs? Because we all understand that there's a huge energy and effort that goes into maturing and nurturing a candidate's journey. But we've also been seeing that off late, the drop off rates are pretty high. So, how do, in your perspective, data can be used in helping to reduce these drop off rates?
I think this would touch nerve of a lot of recruiters if there are any on call on this webinar. But if you are able to capture the right data, right, when you're doing data collection. So a lot of organizations have system enabled where you're able to capture all the candidate related information before they are onboarded or offered. And then there are some organizations that are still capturing this data manually. Sorry. Now, if you're capturing the right data and reviewing or analyzing it from time to time, it is going to be quite evident what are the potential reasons of offer drops and what organizations can do to overcome these challenges. Organizations are still doing. It is quite evident what are the potential reasons. Let's say that offers are getting rejected. Now, there are once you know the potential reasons, you can always identify what are the ways that you can overcome these challenges. But I'll talk about one very interesting instance, and all of us have gone through this. It would not be ABB specific, it would not be industry specific, but we all know when we had pandemic coming up abruptly, and we had no idea what this is all about, right? And there was a lot of uncertainty around moving jobs. So that year was a very limited attrition period, or you can say very limited organizations observed attrition in that year. And immediately 2021 was called to be a great resignation time or a year, right? Everyone was familiar with what is going on with the pandemic, how to operate, and organizations actually witnessed a great churn of incoming and outgoing employees, right? That was the year where all organizations, inclusive of ABB, we witnessed the highest dropout rates, right? And nobody had any idea how to deal with this, because this was never witnessed in last couple of years, right? We were dealing with, if I talk about our own example, we were dealing with for specific skills, not across the organization, but specific skills as high as 40 to 50% of offer dropouts, right? And with each passing month, it was very critical situation for talent acquisition to address the concern of business, because there was a very huge demand for these skills in the market. Every alternate organization was hiring for these skills, and we, just like any other organization, was struggling to adapt so quickly, right? We had to quickly act on it. We realized it's going to be a challenge. There were articles in publications, there were articles online about how these skills are in demand, and what kind of increases that candidates are asking, because they know that there are immense opportunities available. Now, we had to quickly act on it, and we actually decided to go ahead in two directions, which means we were acting internally, in-house recruiters reaching out to candidates, collecting data on why and how they are rejecting the offers of ABB. The other channel was we had engaged with an external agency to reach out to the candidates during the notice period, engage them, and understand the reasons during the course of notice period. What would be the reasons why they would like to reject ABB's offer, right? With data coming in from two channels, we observed there was more honesty, more openness of these candidates with the external vendor as compared to ABB talent partners or recruiters, right? And the data that we collected over this period of couple of months, we realized there were multiple reasons that were coming out, right? It could be flexibility. People were expecting more flexibility than coming to office. People were expecting counter offers, which they were not very vocal about to the internal in-house recruiters, right? Then there was questions or potential reasons around prolonged hybrid way of working, commitment on remote jobs, right? These were potential reasons that were coming up, not just compensation. So we collected this data, we analyzed this data, and we were immediately made to realize that, okay, we have to change the way we are operating. We cannot just work with the conventional way of offering, just calling the candidates every 15 days and checking in, are you joining, not joining, right? We used this data to take a corrective action, and believe me, we had significant drop in the offer rejections, and we were also able to address last minute drop offs. So a lot of recruiters would relate to this. Either a Sunday evening or a Monday morning, we have declines, right? And it's not just for ABB, but across all organizations, right? So instead of getting to know this information, we were able to receive this information through the external vendor much earlier in the notice period, which kind of minimized the bit of surprise for us. So this is how we have been looking at addressing the drop off rates using the data, using the potential reasons, through which we have also realized using the past historical data of drop offs, what are the organizations from where we see the maximum drop offs, what are the locations from where we have hired where we see the maximum drop-offs, right? Because there can be various reasons to it, not just, let's say, a work from home or flexibility or hybrid or remote, but there could be potential other reasons why people are not joining. They're getting retained. There are specific organizations that received challenge people leaving and coming to ABB or our organization. Then there's a restriction around locations. People would like to continue to stay in the locations where they are rather than relocating for a job. So all of this we were able to identify and take corrective actions to improvise our future offers.
Thank you. I think a very interesting point on how today, job offers are not just about ensuring that the compensation parity is there or it is highly competitive, but also factors like location, the hybrid model, the flexibility. Also a very important discussion that has come on board or has come to light today is for women returning to work or women who have young kids or are have just gone through motherhood and need to devote time. So there are so many interesting aspects where data can be utilized, and I do see in larger organization this being very, very structured in terms of understanding the talent beyond just the roles and looking at them as what they are also outside of work. And some of these patterns in data help organizations realize that how it calls for a policy change or more inclusion in the JDs itself. Like there are so many practices that eventually are slowly getting changed or redeveloped as we speak. So that sort of brings me to one of the final questions for today, wherein I would want to know from you, and all throughout we've been talking about data, so I have to touch upon this, that how do you see AI being impacting recruiting, and that is not just from a point of view that how AI is shaping a lot of decision making in different functions and different industries, but even here, which is so human intensive as a function, as an industry. How do you see the role of AI shaping up? And it's a very pertinent discussion for us also at Founded, because we are constantly working on our product around AI as well.
I'll try to keep this one short because I see a pop up on the time, but I think it's it's getting a lot of curiosity across departments, if I can say so, right? Because this is still a relatively new age term, new age technology. If you observe, TA professionals like myself used to hire for AI professionals or ML. We never imagined at that time that this would be implemented in recruitment somehow, right? So I could say it has pros and cons, right? Just like any other change that comes in, right? But as of today, the pros outweigh the cons for AI and ML in recruiting. Now, it gives a lot more efficiency, and this was one of the improvement areas that were identified for us also in the organization, and even in my network that I was speaking about earlier. What are the areas that people identify? Where is the maximum time that people take for in recruitment? So, I think the maximum value add that, in my perspective, is in the screening stage. Of the profiles, because you see there are a couple of hundreds of applications every week for the positions, and not all positions or all applications would be a potential hire for that, but it could be for a future, like you were mentioning about constantly engaging and nurturing the existing database, the candidates that are available in the data pool. That is a possibility using a tool enabled with AI and ML, right? Then a very good example of AI and ML would be the time saving that happens because of the right match provided by the tool itself, basis what you're asking in the job description. As you correctly mentioned, having the right job descriptions, having the right information in the job description, making it more neutral, right, gender neutral, to say so. This is all getting picked up by AI and ML, and you get a good shortlist, a limited number of shortlists from hundreds of applications using the tool, which is AI and ML enabled, right? So right from finding the correct fit for the position, it provides you a lot of lead generation, even if the candidate has not applied for that position, but is available in your database. It would pop up as a lead for your position, which is a lot of saving of time, right? You don't have to go look for the candidate. It may initially come as a hiccup for recruiters because you'll have to teach the machine, you'll have to teach the system. It's the machine learning aspect where you will require a little bit of patience. But once you start using it, once you reap the benefits of it, you will not go back from these systems. You will not go back to old way of recruiting, right? Uh, Apart from continuously, like I mentioned, nurturing your talent, this would also serve as a cost savior for organizations, right? So let's say if you're using your own database to making a top quality hire, you don't need an agency, you don't need a proactive sourcing to reach out externally. It is saving you time and cost. So a lot of pros that I see, and it's if I see talk about the impact, it makes the life easy, not just for us as recruiters and talent community, but also for candidate, also for the hiring manager. The only drawback that I see, given that the know-how, as of now, there's only one that, in my opinion, I can share. The know-how of AI and AI-enabled tool is increasing. Now, I somehow feel that there's a cheat code that is coming up with the candidates, that they know how to get their profiles shortlisted if the organizations have AI-based systems. So this is around AI and ML. But as you were talking about this, Tuhina, I just was curious to know how is founded making use of AI or ML based technologies.
Yeah, I will get to that. Actually, we've come to the end of the questions that I had set aside for the session today. But yeah, coming to Founded, we've been continuously working on our product, and we truly believe in reimagining, revolutionizing the way hiring is imagined and done. And what we are constantly trying to work upon is looking at active and passive candidate. That's where I brought in the whole discussion about looking at candidate on a dashboard through the timeline, and also to nurture them into what they can potentially fit in. Because we've had the discussion prior also when we started this conversation that at times there is no candidate that's cut out for a certain role, so there might be fitment elsewhere. And like you were saying, the leads pop up, so it's very effective for a recruiter to pick that, not have to dig through the data, but the pop-ups help grab the right lead. So that is one of the aspects that we've clearly worked on. And then again, in terms of enhancing the search, also I do feel, and that's something that we've seen across when we work closely with our product and tech teams also, that collaborating effectively for the TA segment as a whole is very important. Because there are inputs to be taken, there are these catch-ups that have to happen, wherein how you're collaborating across the board with the data becomes something which is essential and important. We also are looking at, when we are talking about finding cutting edge searches and including that, we're also constantly working on eliminating the guesswork that goes around the hiring process, into looking at what the right candidate is just through their resumes. And we are also trying to bring in smart insights on a candidate's career history, again going back to the timeline, education, etc., which is a pointed effort towards making this an informed decisions for recruiters. The outreach to be with ease is one of the other things that we've been focusing on. Besides that, while we have a very, very strong candidate pool, we are also looking at how our customers are able to gain access to millions of profiles which are both in tech and non-tech, and both which are actively looking and off the market. So that gives the recruiter also a very holistic picture of what kind of skills match there is to a candidate profile. And lastly, I think one of the, something that is top of my mind is how we are automating outreach and collaboration. So again, building and scheduling campaigns, being able to set out templates and AI assisted emails in terms of reaching of thousands of candidates in a go, and collaborate effortlessly with team members is something which is crucial to the product that we have built. And while I've spoken about it, while there are a lot of recruiters around on the call right now, if any of you want to get a early access to Foundit offering that I've been talking about, you would take the poll. It will help us get a sense of your interest, and then our teams will also contact you.
So, I want to take the questions that are there, but I know that there's time limitation. So I'm trying to type my answers. So will the chat remain active after we have ended?
Yeah. We are not going to end it. So you could keep typing the answers.
Yeah,
I do see.
There are some 11 open answer questions that I see. I'm
Right.
one at a time. So I want to be mindful of the time of participants who have joined in. So we can probably let the streaming continue without the video and audio, but I'll just quickly answer the questions because we've already reached the time.
Yeah, I think I do see a question on ATS, etc., also on location and how should applicants only apply to one role in particular projects. While typing the answers and evaluating, you might also want to see this from a recruiter lens and from a seeker, because a few of them do suggest that they're coming from seekers and not recruiters.
Yes, so I'm maybe I'll just answer one or two and then I'll just quickly move on to things. So the last one that I see, the first for me that I see is, should applicant only apply to one role in particular project, vertical or location? If apply to 5 roles on Monday at ABB example, does a recruiter know I have applied to 5 roles or not? yes, a recruiter will be able to see that you've applied for 5 roles. There's no harm in applying for 5 roles in any organization, including that of ABP. The challenge would be for you to identify what is your area of interest. So as a seeker, I would say apply for those 5 positions in an area of interest. So it should not range from, let's say, a project management to a product owner. Let's say a wide variation should not be there, so that it shows that your interest is inclined in one area. It should not be a finance and an HR coming to, in one organization, because recruiters can see on what areas you're applying. So I hope that answers. But there's no restriction, and there should not be on the number of positions that you're applying for, and it is not considered as a bias if you apply for multiple positions. Educate us on how ATS is used, what applicants should know about ATS. So it depends from organization to organization. Some large scale organizations use cutting edge technology tools that we were just talking about, which would be AI, which is artificial intelligence, and ML based tools, which means you should correctly customize your CVs for the jobs that you're applying. And then the AI would enable your resume to be in shortlist, which means your resume should not be generic in nature, and you should be able to customize and evolve your resume for the job which you're applying. So ATS is nothing but an applicant tracking system. Let's say an organization has 100 positions open, and this ATS would enable the recruiters to review those 100 positions and what are the applications that are coming in. So it's just a system on which a recruiter works. I hope this answers your question. I see third last question, which is Rukhsar informs of base location, be it Bangalore or Chennai or Kerala or Delhi. It is part of India. Ask candidates post right filtration of their willingness to relocate, having a location bias in the first place when the young generation is location flexible, speaks of your leadership team mentality. Okay, so this is why I was speaking it in context of data, that we've analyzed the data. That, I'll give you one example, that while we hire from campus the early talent, it has been observed if they are hired for far away locations, and this is through data I'm talking. If they are hired from faraway locations, from their base locations, they tend to move out in, let's say, a couple of years, or ask for a location change closer to their homes. So it's not on the business, honestly, that business decides that we want to do only Bangalore or Chennai. This is the change, right? It's a change for organizations like ABB and other organizations, that we continuously evolve. Now, post-COVID, we have observed that people prefer to stay closer to homes. People prefer to have flexibility. Yes, there's a population that is open to relocate, which could be people who are just graduating, which could be people who are, let's say, 20 years down their careers. But there are people who prefer to be closer to homes, right? So we have to keep a balance. We cannot approach take a very standard approach for all candidates. There's a diverse pool available. Everybody has different preferences, and we as organizations have to evolve on the basis of preferences of these candidates, which means if today's generation is asking us to be location flexible, we are open to that. If today's generation prefers to work from home, we are opening to that. We are still open to that, right? If they are asking for only remote options, we identify job opportunities. Now, if you look at data, there is a lot of openness in today's generation about contract work assignments, which was earlier not there. People were more inclined towards more permanent job with certainties, right? Now there's gig workforce, gig type of contracts which are coming up. So it's not on actually leadership or organization. It's the talent pool which is asking for all these change. If a candidate is open to relocate, there will be no harm for an organization to, prefer to have them in the base location. Okay. Now I see one more question. Dohina and Rukhsar, please give examples when debating. You all are discussing abstract aspects. The world knows, speak what was done, what is to be done in the future, how example ABB partnered with a company to solve a challenge, or employee in ABB transformed the scenario. So Hina, please ask Rel. Okay, this is why I think probably I was using a lot of examples. Maybe I can elaborate more if
This
there's.
could be, I think this comment could be prior to we started specific to examples. And I also feel that at a forum like this, it's unwise to use any other company name outside of the
So in
ones
that,
that you're employed with.
any other organizations, but when I was quoting the examples of inefficiencies in the process, those are actually
Yeah,
my network, people in talent acquisition space who have done this.
right. Right,
And
absolutely. So I do feel that we've touched upon a lot of real life examples that we've picked up from when I was asking from the situations that we see at Founded, or our customers are facing, and you have spoken of it from the challenges right from
yeah,
pandemic onwards in terms of what has been happening in the space of recruitment. I think very quickly we can take the last question, which is, does entrance of AI affect the number of recruiters opportunity as the AI makes the recruitment part easy? What is your view? I think that is all we
I
will be
don't see this
taking.
question. I'm so sorry. I would like to read the question. Is it in the chat?
Yeah, it is in the chat. Does entrance of AI affect the number of recruiters opportunity as the AI makes recruitment part easy? What is your view?
Okay, so I don't think so. There's impact on the number of jobs that were available for recruiters. This is our personal experience because we have AI-enabled tool in ABB. We use an AI-enabled system to screen the initial applications that come in, and we have not done any headcount, or we have not had any kind of headcount implications for the recruiter's job. Rather, we have only expanded our recruitment team in last couple of years to improve the value add that we're giving. So AI has a little bit of notion that people tend to perceive that this will result in job loss. This will result in a lot of job cuts in an organization on redundancy. But I think in my personal opinion, also what we have seen here at ABB, it's more about instead of doing something that would not add value to the business, that particular step is managed by AI. And we ask our recruiters to focus more on value add to the business, which means spending more time in building the relationships with the stakeholders, spending more time with the candidates, doing more value add to be able to provide feedback to candidates once they have been interviewed. So I know there's a lot of feedback that comes in that not everybody hears back, but imagine the volumes that an organization deals with, right? It's impossible to practically go back to everybody individually. I don't want to mention the number, but the number of applications organizations like ABB receive, it's very hard to manually reach out to people. And this is where AI comes into the picture, where they enable a lot of administrative work for the recruiters, so recruiters could focus on better value add to the business.
I think that answers it. And I think with that, we've overextended the time that we'd budgeted for the webinar today. Thank you so much, Rukhsar, for these valuable insights. We've also recorded the session for all of you who'd like to rerun this and view it. Maybe please take those up later on. You could, the chat will remain live. You could answer them
Sure.
and continue to engage. Thank you so much, the attendees, for coming on to the webinar and helping us make this successful.
Thank you, Tutna, and entire founder team. I thoroughly enjoyed the experience.
Yeah, and this is also self-explanatory for the attendees that you could take the feedback and tell us your thoughts. It will only help us make the sessions in future of RecRoute better. Thank you, Rukhsar.
Thank you so much.